The last coverage that we have in man-to-man is what we call banjo coverage. And banjo for us isn't used a whole lot. It's kind of a change-up to what we're doing with our cover 1 and cover 0. We want to use a banjo call when we're having trouble with teams that like to run pick routes. They want to do rub routes. They're going to run like slants and outs, and they're going to try to pick us off in our man coverage. So what we do is we use a banjo call. The banjo call tells our safeties to take an inside route, and it tells our corners to take an outside route. All right, what we mean by that is the corners are going to be looking for anything coming to the outside, and the safeties are going to be looking at any route coming to the inside. So I'm going to go over to the smart board, and we're going to draw up a couple of scenarios and who would have what and what we would call our 0 banjo coverage. All right, we want to talk our 0 banjo coverage right now. So when we talk about banjo, we're going to take a little marker and we're going to draw kind of a line in here between these two, the receiver and the corners and the safeties. We'll do the same thing on this side. We're going to draw that line in between the corners and the safeties. So that's really kind of how we differentiate what routes we're going to get. Now, depending on what the offense wants to run, we're going to call that banjo. And what banjo means is the corner is going to take anything outside of this green line, and the safety is going to take anything inside of this green line. All right, we get that a lot when we have teams that love to do what we call a slant out route. So they're going to run a slant route from this outside guy, and they're going to run a speed out from this inside guy. So when we see routes like this, with that banjo coverage, instead of us running into each other and colliding and getting trouble with our man coverage, what we're going to do is we're going to just take the inside and the outside of the route. So the corner sees that slant going to the inside, he's going to backpedal, and he's going to look to pick up that out. Same thing with our safety. The safety sees the out route and he starts to go. He's going to look for that slant coming to the inside, and he's going to pick up that route. So what we've done essentially is we've said, all right, safety, you've got anything coming in. Corner, you've got anything coming out. So you're playing man-to-man essentially. What you're doing is you're switching routes. It's almost like a matchup zone in basketball. So we've made sure that when that corner is backpedaling and he sees that slant go to the inside, he stops and he looks for that outside route. Same thing with our safety. As he's watching this inside route happen, this inside receiver starts to move to the outside. He looks, and he's going to try to pick up on that slant route. So that's one of the scenarios that we have with our banjo coverage. All right, the other problem that we might have is what if they are both going deep? All right, so a lot of times you'll see a post-corner combination where they're going to have this inside guy run the corner route, and they're going to have the outside guy run a post route. All right, how would we handle something like that with our coverage? Very simple again. We would have our safety is man-to-man on this guy as far as he goes until he starts to cross. Then we would yell switch, and he would take that post. The corner would be coming back. They're going to communicate in. He would communicate that that guy's going in. The safety's got him, and our corner would take then the out route. So really the key here, I can't overemphasize enough, is these two have got to communicate to each other on that in and out. So we make those in and out calls. That to me is really, really important when we're talking about that banjo coverage out of 0. The last part of the banjo that we get a lot of questions on is when people ask us, when we've drawn that line of demarcation as we call it, what happens if you get 2 inside routes? What if you were to get double posts? How would we deal with that? Because technically the corner doesn't have anybody. We get that conversation all the time. We're not going to worry about that because we're still playing man-to-man. It's still his job to take him inside, and he's still on the inside route. The corner will stay with this guy as long as he can. If he crosses that line, that's fine. He still has to stay with him, but he wants to make sure he keeps his eyes on here looking for anything coming back across. So it still works for us staying on those 2 routes, but we've got to keep our eyes open and we've got to have that communication between those 2 for the banjo. All right, the same works for 2 short slants. We would do it the same way. We want to make sure that we have that line of communication between those 2 when we're trying to run the 0 banjo coverage.